was on Facebook. So I mean, Facebook is like this. It kills a lot of time, and killing time is bad when who wants to kill time? I want time to be amazing. But of course it leads to immorality. But that much immorality, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I'm not doing immoral things on Facebook. Oh, the chat room. The chat freezes my computer anyways. I never go on it.
Are you more distant from Orthodox Judaism than you've ever been?
I don't know. It depends how he phrased that question. I'm definitely distant from mainstream Orthodoxy because of the place I'm living. Distant from Orthodox Judaism? No, definitely not. The most distant I was ever from Orthodox Judaism was probably like when I was, Albany. What's funny, the most distant I've ever been from Orthodox Judaism was actually when I lived in New York and when I lived in Muncie. When I was living amongst Orthodox Jews, I didn't want to have anything to do with them. But now that I'm living in a much more diverse environment, I love going to shul, and I love going to shur, and I love that sort of thing. But when I lived amongst them, I never wanted to be around them. So I'm always more religious, or more seemingly religious. My belief system is screwed up, but I go to shul all the time, and I learn. So I'm always seemingly more religious. I'm doing more things when I'm around less Jews, actually. That's the interesting thing about it. So, in terms of being amongst mainstream Orthodox, but being Orthodox and going to shul and doing stuff like that, probably more so than when I was on the East Coast.
What do you think of Chabad?
Chabad, everyone loves Chabad. It's like I'm a staunch defender and a staunch critic. It's like, but in the end, man, who cares? They believe he's Mashiach. Big fucking deal. Let's get the show on the road. They got these Chabads all around the world. You don't hear these people complaining about Chabad when they're stuck in the middle of nowhere and they need a place to stay or they need a kosher meal. They complain about them amongst their friends. And you know what? I think a lot of people sell them short, and a lot of people are hypocrites about it. They'll use them and then go bash them, and I think that's a real big shame. And I think that people like to pick out the negatives before picking out the positives, and people love to dwell on the negative. Oh, they believe Mashiach. Big deal. They believe in Mashiach. What, are you going to the mall and putting tefillin on people? Are you lighting a menorah and having people say, wow, I can be openly Jewish? Or are you going out to Beijing and helping people out who are Jewish there? They aren't. The yeshiva community can criticize all they want, but in the end, they'll never be like Chabad. They don't have the balls to do it, and they don't have the resources. Chabad got on the game early, and the Chabad debates have been going on for 250 years. This is not a new thing. People think it's a new thing because the internet has exasperated it. But if you talk to people from the old country, they'll say, we were allowed to learn Chabad Chassidus up until the Rebbe Rasha, but after that it got too crazy. That means the Chassidus of the Frierdiker Rebbe and the Tzemach Tzedek, these people, was also a little outlandish. So there were different things. And in general, Chabad Chassidus, broke away from the norm. After I don't know. Who was the Alter Rebbe's grandson? Midler Rebbe? I don't know. There's a lot of history. It's not a simple thing. And there's I think every Hasidic group. I think if the Satmars were more in the mainstream society, people would hate them just as much. But they're not. They've stayed away. They don't do what Chabad does. Chabad goes into every community and they set up centers. And yeah, there's machlokas and there's a lot of shit that goes on in the background. But in the end, it's like 85% good and 15% shit. So, sorry about the language, I'm just a little, my throat now.
It's fine. Are the things that you love and hate and like and dislike about Orthodox Judaism, have they changed over the past year or two?
Yeah, for sure. When you're not, when someone emails me, I went into shul and some guy kicked me out of the seat, I'm like, whatever, big deal, who cares? Why are we concentrating on this junk? But I've always been a little...
Do you want some more water?
No, I'm good. I've always been a little standoffish towards, in general, I was never always part of the community. I was always, from a different Ashkafic realm, and I think people complain too much, and they make too big of a deal. I'm writing humor, so I have to complain, but there's a lot of, people focus on negatives. That's a constant. That was always my experience. There's always a focus on, because it's more entertaining to talk about the bad and the good. Good is, and that's in general. You can blame me. On my site, it's so hard to find a Kiddush Hashem these days, answered a question.
How do you know when you've done good work, good writing, good comedy?
I don't know. I mean, like the posts that are easiest to write are the best. When you just free flowing stream of consciousness. Those are awesome, and that's not so common anymore because it's hard for me to sit down and write when the weather's so good and there's stuff going on. So, once in a while, that's what happens. And I don't know, like it ebbs and flows. It really ebbs and flows. Like 1 week I'm not in the mood. The week before this week, I was so in the mood. I was banging out great posts, and it was really a lot of fun. But this week I wasn't in the mood. Like it's just, and I've gotten away from forcing myself to write. It used to be I have to put up a post, but now it's like, you know what? I don't feel like posting tonight. I'm not going to post tonight. I got away from that. And it's funny. Just as many people come. They just look at old stuff. They discuss. They debate. There's a lot of stuff in there that no one ever looked at. I know. So I don't know.
Let me think about some of the things you said.
How many people are here? Liberal world protector. Nice, I like that. Prancing pianist. When is Coffee Bean going to open in New York? Never.
How was the Julicious Festival for you last year?
It was interesting. It was interesting. It wasn't what I expected, but it was definitely I definitely didn't go for the participants. I went for the people who were there presenting and just meeting with peers of mine. And I really like Rabbi Yonah and I like David Abitbol. I think they're both really, really special people. The guy from Punk Torah is really a lot of fun to hang out with. Esther Kostanowitz was there. There were some good personalities from the Jewish underworld of the internet, and I think that was just really, really nice. The comedians were great. I mean, I don't know what that guy's name is, but the Chabad comedian was great. Joel Chasanoff is brilliant, and he has a book, 188th Crybaby. You should read it. It's very good. Very good. Really. And it was good. It was a good festival. It was interesting. Probably going to go back this year too. Actually, probably go back.
Do you represent Judaism in a positive light?
Depends who you ask. Apparently, a lot of people think so. A lot of people think that having an honest, unapologetic view of Orthodoxy is a good thing. I always boggles my mind because I'm from an FFB background. So if I come and someone's like, I'm like, yeah, that sucks. But these BTs and Gerim come, and they've been fed this watered down Aish version of Judaism, and they're so excited that oh, here's some honesty, and maybe I'll become Frummer. And it's to me, I don't get it because I'm from a different background, and I think a lot of FFBs, the people making the decisions in the Frum world about all these things are mostly FFBs, and I don't think they could really relate to people becoming Frum or people who grew up non-religious or people who grew up non-Jewish. I think there's a really big disconnect, and a lot of BTs unfortunately get sucked into that, and they go for this, and there's a lot of ignorance, but there's a lot of people who don't buy it, and they want to see information and what's out there for themselves, and it becomes it's an interesting thing. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I don't think, it's if you know me, the people who know me are people probably think you're really negative, but really you're really happy, and you're not to me, people would I'd be writing this stuff as this is really funny and entertaining, and people would come and be yeah, that sucks, and I'm but it's so funny, I thought it was great for people to push each other around at Kiddush, and then people get really negative about it. So for me, I'm not coming at it from a negative point of view. I sound a little sarcastic and cynic, but it wasn't I didn't feel such negativity. I never felt really, that's the thing. I've never felt such negativity at all towards Haredim or non-religious or any Jews. I never really it's never really been about disdain. It's just about education and entertainment. It's not about disliking any specific group. I really don't dislike any specific group. It's really, there's individuals within the group, but I don't, whenever people tell me, oh, I had this experience at this, but that doesn't give you a right to judge the whole group, ever. And that's just as bad as racism or, anything else that's like that,
How did your act go over at the Pacific Jewish Center?
That was good times. That was a lot of fun. That was, really good. That was good because that crowd is all these, people who aren't religious but come to Shul on Shabbos and all went to yeshiva back in the day, whose kids became more